Hey there, my name is Nick Tam with Agency Profits, and today I'm going to be talking about how to scale to $100,000 a month using leverage consulting. And this is by far going to be the easiest way to scale if you have an agency, you're a B2B provider, or you're currently a consultant, right? So consulting is becoming a very, very powerful way of helping your clients. And I'll explain to you why and how you can actually add this to your business very, very quickly. I started a new consulting offer about 3 weeks ago, and we took it from zero to about $130,000 in revenue in under 3 weeks by simply just positioning it and having the services actually be more leverage consulting. So I'm going to walk you through and how you can add this to your business so that way you can also scale your business to $100,000 per month using this exact model. So let's dive right into it. So we first need to understand what consulting is. So consulting is literally just solving more problems. So we have to remember that with any business, when you start to solve problems, generally another problem will arise. So we're in the business of just constantly solving problems. Now, that does not mean that you have the solution to everything. So we're in a day and age of information where there's so much information out there. You can go on YouTube and literally look up anything. So with that, people tend to get very overwhelmed and they don't take action. They don't know what to implement. And most of the problem is not because there's a lack of information out there. There's no lack of solutions. It's actually knowing what solution to actually implement. In fact, it's just a lack of implementation. So most business owners, they just don't have time, right? So if we're talking about, let's say, a local business, right? I'm in the home services space. That's where my agency operates. If I'm talking to a roofer, let's say, they are not scouring YouTube, looking up marketing tactics and different types of campaigns and things like that to implement, right? Although they know they can get that stuff out there and they can access that information, but they aren't going to implement it. So there's no lack of information. And even for someone, let's say like yourself, there's so much information out there, but you might not actually know how to implement it. So as a consultant, the only role of your job is to essentially shortcut time. And the way you essentially go in and help someone out is by telling them this is the exact roadmap, right? And if you can literally tell someone, here are the 5 things you need to do, you're effectively going to save that business owner a ton of time. And that's exactly what they want, right? They want the quickest time and the ease of essentially getting to the result that they want to get to. So that is how you want to think about consulting, is like there's certain parts that you're going to do that are going to be more done for you or even done with you, right? So generally consulting is a couple different elements of that. It's not just one or the other. So most agency owners are really focused on just the done for you side, but they don't ideate new solutions. They don't go and seek out information on behalf of the business owner in order to make it easier. And the reason why is because your offer is likely just structured as a done for you offer where you're getting a retainer plus ad spend. And all you really have the time, energy, margin to do, and actually incentive to do, is really just focus on typically like a done for you type of offer. Whereas more so, you really need to have a leveraged consulting offer because there are typically different parts and different inputs that are going to get that person from point A to point B. So if you can help and really structure a simple path to get someone from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time, they're going to pay you a lot of money. And in the process of doing so, they're going to stay with you for a really long time. So we need to understand that there's a big lack of implementation right now. So your job is to find solutions, find ways of implementation, documenting this process and repeating it over and over and over again. And this is where niching down and focusing on the same type of business is going to be really beneficial. Because let's say on client number 1, right? Let's do this here. So on client 1, you're probably going to be lost. You're probably going to be figuring this out for the first time and going through different trial and tribulations and testing different things out. But what you're going to do is document what works and what doesn't work. So if you're trying to, let's say, take a business owner from zero to $100,000 per month, there's a lot of things in place that need to happen in order to do so, right? So if I want to help, let's say, a roofing business owner get from zero to $100,000 a month, or let's say they're doing $100,000 a year and they want to get to $1 million a year, right? So there's a lot of different things and steps that I need to figure out in order for them to do so. So as a leverage consultant, my goal is to figure out the least amount of things that they need to do, the simplest way and path by studying and figuring out what solutions there are, by sifting through all the information there is out there and essentially testing it and basically putting it into action for my client, right? Putting it into implementation for my client. And then by the time you go to client number 2, you're going to have a little bit more insights. You're going to know what worked and what didn't work. By the time you go to client number 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth, you're going to have this fully refined system. So it's important that you become a leverage consultant for one type of business, because then you can pretty much just document and repeat the process over and over and over again, right? So Deloitte, you guys know Deloitte, a huge consulting company. That's essentially what they do. They sift through information, they present solutions to the client, and the client essentially implements it. And it takes them from point A to point B. So if a company that's doing multi-billions and is a multinational company is doing that, then that is the kind of structure that we would like to do as well, just on a much smaller scale. So that's all you're doing is researching, then presenting a solution. Now, what we want to do is actually become a leverage consultant is by doing as much as we can from a done for you standpoint, and then having the consulting piece as well. So with that being said, for example, here is a typical structure, right? You can typically do ads as a done for you, automations as a done for you when we look at, things like speed to lead, text messages, emails, long-term nurture, and things like that. We can help clients build out a CRM. We can even help them hire an appointment setter, which then, pushes to their sales team, and you can help out with sales processes and then essentially take them to the close, right? But there's other things that we can help with that we really need to ideate and kind of think about. Now, I'm not saying you have to do all these different things, but what I'm saying is the information is out there where you can help with these things. We still want to have our core offer, right? Where we have one core service that is basically getting all these results, because this is going to take a lot of companies, to a relatively high revenue number. But where you can really start to build long-term growth and maybe even get a percentage of the revenue that you grow is through adding on consulting, leverage consulting solutions. So for example, companies will need certain branding. Maybe they need help with hiring, where you can start to look up information and look at different ways to hire, right? Or if they need help with profit, you can maybe build out a profit sheet. Now, the cool thing is like once you build this out, right? Let's say you do a ton of research and you figure out what the average profit margins are and things like that. You build a whole P&L sheet that this business can plug all their information into. Well, what becomes really cool is that you can use it for client number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So a lot of this stuff you only have to build out once, and then you can use it as a way to become more of a leverage consultant, right? And you're helping them solve different problems up the totem pole. You guys have heard me talk about this before potentially. And that's a big proponent that I'm part of, because if you're an agency owner, you're probably solving certain parts here, right? Maybe you're getting up to this point, but most of the agency owners I know, they're not helping with the sales process. So let's say let's even forget about this stuff, right? Even if I was to consult on a company right now. So you can imagine how many home service-based business owners I've worked with over the years. Well, the cool thing is like I have a lot of insights into their sales process. So if I can even take, let's say, their closing ratio. Let's say their closing ratio is only 10%. Well, if I can take it all the way to 20%, I've literally just doubled their business. So if I charge an upfront fee, so let's say just this model, let's completely forget about this stuff, okay? So let's just say I charge a fee of $10,000 upfront to build out the automations, run their ads, connect our CRM, and have all that whole system working for them to get leads and appointments, right? So I charge $10K for 90 days just to get that all set up. And then if they want to continue working with me after, then we can, basically either charge a retainer. But better is if you really believe in yourself and your services and everything like that as a leverage consultant, you can actually negotiate a percentage of their growth. So for example, if you wanted to take, let's say, a 10% revenue share of their business from the growth that you bring onto them, well, it's really, really powerful because let's say we have this system and they're closing at a 10% ratio. If I take them to 20% and let's say they're doing 1 million a year and I take them to a 20% closing ratio, it doubles their business, right? So effectively they're doing $2 million a year at a 10%, rev share. It's a lot of money, right? So that is how you become highly paid as a leverage consultant, is because you're really solving things that have way more impact on their business, right? And that's just one of the things that you can solve. There's a ton of other things where you can have an impact. So for example, if they're only setting, let's say, 2 out of 10 leads, and you can get that to 5 out of 10 leads, that effectively gives them a 2 to 3x on the amount of appointments that they take. So just on these two things, let's say you're consulting on this stuff, right? On appointment setting as well. If you can take them, if you can increase their set rate by 2x, you've also doubled their business here, right? Because essentially the power of it is that let's say they're only setting, a few, like let's say 10 estimates out of every, 50 leads that come in. And instead you can get them to like 20 estimates out of every 50 leads that come in. Well, that's doubled the sales chances. Then you double up their sales closing ratio and all of a sudden they've like quadrupled their business just from 2 different points of leverage consulting that you did. And then you take a percentage of that growth that you get, that you help them grow. And then all of a sudden you have a few of these clients, you're making a ton of money. So that is kind of the new leverage consultant model that I'm teaching to people, because it's super powerful. It is really, really powerful because it's just one of those things that allows you to really scale up to $100,000 a month by having a very few amount of clients. You don't need a lot of clients, but it allows you to have an incentive to actually help, those clients grow to the next level. If they're only paying you $2,000 a month and you help them grow to, 5x their business, well, you don't really have an incentive except, for them to stay on at $2,000 a month, but you're not going to put in any extra effort into helping consult their sales process or their appointment setting process or things like that. Whereas if you have a piece of the pie, you're going to be much more likely to want to help with these things. You're going to be super, super motivated to actually help them grow because you're going to get a percentage of that. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video on how to become a leverage consultant, and let me know if you're able to implement this. A lot of clients really, really want this because they want someone who's more of a partner in their business and not just another marketing agency, right? They want them to actually get them results. So help someone get from point A to point B as fast as possible with the least resistance as possible, you're going to make a lot of money doing so. So if you haven't already, please subscribe if you like content like this, where I kind of riff and go into what we're doing and documenting our journey as leverage consultants. And hopefully that helps you out. So with that being said, subscribe, and also drop me a comment if you like this type of content. And if you want me to do more of it, or if you have any feedback for me, also let me know. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.